Recently, there's a study by CIMB and NTU that states that Singaporeans are targeting more than $1 million and retirement also in their 40s. So without further ado, let's deep dive to some of the key findings because we are all curious about what other people think about retirement, right? As it reads, according to the second edition of Attitudes and Belief, this report over here is 27 pages, but I'll only go through the key parts with you to drive home the point. Financial independence is now increasingly quantified, with 56.3% aspiring to accumulate more than $1 million, up from 52.3% in 2035 and 35.8% identifying 1 to 2.5 million as the sweet spot for financial independence. Let's pull up the chart over here to see where the entire spectrum of votes came in. Wow, we can see that for 2026, indeed, more than a third voted $1 to $2.5 million. By the way, this is still a very big range. So let's quantify what exactly we can use from such a big pot of money in retirement. So the usual 4% rule for financial freedom states that if you have $1.2 million invested, you can expect $4,000 per month in retirement income. $1.5 million, $5,000 per month. $1.8 million, $6,000 per month. $2.1 million, $7,000 per month, and $2.4 million, $8,000 per month. So we can see that if this is indeed reflecting what people are thinking, that means most are hoping for $4,000 to $8,000 per month in retirement income. $4,000 to $8,000, quite a big sum of money. And I have a few guesses why also. Maybe they are thinking based on their current active income, because the median income for Singapore is about $6,000 currently. Or the other point of view could be many are factoring in some inflation because your kopi-o is going up in price, correct? Your wanton mee, your yong tau fu are all going up in prices. And to put a shortcut to it, let's assume 3% rate of inflation for 10 years. That means $4,000 to $8,000 in 10 years time would feel about $3,000 to $6,000 now only. So that could be the other explanation why people vote between $1 to $2.5 million. But more interestingly, this is the biggest or highest voted. And there is a big jump from the previous year in terms of vote. Actually, the 500k to 1 million also saw an increment whereby 21% voted that is needed for financial independence, correct? And what we can see is because these two went up, surely some other areas must have dropped. Firstly, less than 100,000 dropped. I don't know why some voted for less than 100,000. That is a bit off. Unless you're super old, you can't really retire with $100,000. That's just being realistic. Then what about the more than $5 million range? That also saw a big drop. And I'm actually not too surprised that some people voted more than 5 million. Because I'm on YouTube for so long already, right? I've continuously heard people say, oh, I need 5 or 10 million. And wait, it's actually not that easy to build $5 million. If you do the math, for example, if you're serious about it, you want to get to $5 million, do note you need $20,000 per month saved and invested at 10% rate of return for, guess what, 12 years. Firstly, how many people can save $20,000 per month? Not many people earn $20,000 per month already. And save and invest at 10% per annum average, also very difficult to achieve. So hopefully it's just not a wild dream. We try to put actionable steps, and I think the first thing is to just be realistic. If you're earning super well, then maybe yes, you can aim for 5 million. But on this channel, I would like to help each and everyone achieve financial freedom, and we have to take care of the masses, whereby $5 million is just not realistic. And to round off this part, maybe I also like to refresh again. Many times on this channel, I've shared that retirees have given feedback that $2,000 per month in today's world is kind of sufficient already. You can check with your elderly parents also, what do they spend? You realize that frequently they would cook more. That means you buy raw chicken instead of go to the restaurant. You just have time, you just enjoy cooking, and maybe it's just healthier. You have a lot more time, so you walk instead of take taxi. And what you realize is that with the home fully paid, simple lifestyle, $2,000 per month is actually okay. Majority spend actually in medical needs and maybe holiday. So not that much is spent, especially for a frugal elderly. Okay, so as always, let me know in the comment sections what you think. Check out the Telegram group, whereby I've also done a poll to find out what do others who are more financially savvy like you think they need in terms of financial independence. So let's move on to the article. The rising wealth ambition is matched by an accelerated time frame. Accelerated means brought earlier. Where retirement in the 50s was the norm just a year ago, today's benchmark has moved to 40s. Gen Z is pushing boundaries even further, envisioning financial freedom in their 30s or in some cases 20s. Wow, let's pull up the chart to see exactly where did the votes come in. Gen Z, wow, if we see under 30s plus 30 to 39, that's almost 70% of votes. Are you serious or not? Is this the reason why young couples don't want or don't dare to start a family now? It's a bit sad. Personally, you know my channel, Dear Still Parent. I'm all about family planning, and my personal values is that life is not all about money, and by the extension, not all about financial independence and no struggle, sit on the beach all day. I think I'm not interested in that kind of life. In that case, I also believe that happiness is not just about money. Happiness, in a lot of times, relates to health, relates to relationships. But when you build a family nicely and properly, happiness comes in a different taste. But to this point, I also understand. When I was in my 20s, I also suffered from a lack of perspective. I also thought that, I complete my studies and I shouldn't have any more pressure. I did the hardest part in life. Little did I know that today, when I'm 42, double the age of age 21, I'll be preaching that life is a journey of ups and downs. You enjoy the taste of sweetness more because you've been through pain, you've been through hurdles. Then it tastes sweeter, kind of a thing. And I also think back, when I was in my 20s, I also suffered from overconfidence. For example, I would think that my income, my career would be smooth sailing. Not true at all. I also have unrealistic expectations. 10% per annum average for investing? Nah. I want 100% gains because I'm so special, kind of thing. I take aggressive moves. 1 year I can make 100%. That's true. I've done it before. Secret, with leverage, you can do wonders in terms of your ROI. And then what happened? The next year, you can blow the entire amount away. Up, down. Actually, you've never taken a forward step that much. And another thing about unrealistic expectations when we were all much younger, we kind of don't quite understand, how can we work 5 years and then the amount of assets that we build is enough to fund the next 50 years of retirement? 5 years to fund 50 years? It must be an enormous effort, right? It doesn't make sense. The math doesn't work. I know, of course, there are entrepreneurs in their 20s who are multi-millionaire. They built a startup and then they sold it off and now they're rich. They can buy a Ferrari in their 20s. Really got such stories, I believe. But also, what is not mentioned frequently is that they work like donkeys, doing 80, 100-hour work weeks to get their startup up to speed and flying, and they are only the minority. Most of us in normal careers cannot build enough assets in 5 years that can sustain for 50 years. Agree with it? So moving on also, let's look at other age groups. Millennials, majority vote to retire in the 40s. Okay. Some also vote 30s, some also vote 50s. Okay. Maybe millennials are a bit more settled in life. Bought the first house already, kid, marriage, all these serious stuff all settled. So retirement expectations also a bit more realistic maybe. Gen X, majority voted financial independence by 50s. Okay, maybe that's about preservation. They are, in the later stage of career. So surely we have known of someone or themselves being through this retrenchment phase and stuff. So I'm kind of thinking they are more grounded, more realistic expectation. But I'm also surprised there's some in the Gen X who have voted for financial independence under 30. 1.1% of them. Was that 1.1% born with a silver spoon? Or they misread the question? I really don't know. Okay, so let's move on to find out a bit deeper on what others think about financial independence. While many Singapore residents believe financial independence is achievable, confidence remains mixed and anxiety persists. Wow. More than 3/4 or 78% believe that financial independence is achievable. Just 36% describe themselves as moderately confident. 34.6% report frequent or constant anxiety about their financial future. Okay, so if you are anxious about your financial future due to job changes, AI threats, don't worry, you're not alone. But also, if you have built up sufficient, you kind of can, massage that down a bit. Generational differences stand out. Moving on, there seems to be a gap between ambition and action. The drive for financial independence remains strong, but many struggle to translate into action. So is it that they are just daydreaming and just hoping for Toto? Hopefully not. Key barriers include high living costs, 70.7% voted that, low income, and family responsibilities. With growing concerns around market volatility, limited financial education, and lifestyle pressures such as shopping temptations. Now, if we see the chart over here, you realize the spread. And I'll think high debt, okay, that is bad. Market volatility, yeah, it's always been like that. Lack of financial education. Subscribe so that you get more financial education from this channel. Many of them, I think, are even not in this discussion. I guess if you are viewing this, you are already more taking action. So this probably doesn't apply to you. Lack of financial education. Shopping temptation. Okay, that is bad, but hopefully solvable. But I want to give my take on the first 3 points. High cost of living, low income, and family responsibilities. I think these are tied together. And that one thing that ties them together is actually income. Don't be triggered. I'm suggesting that income is possibly the problem that ties all these 3 biggest factors that affect ability to achieve financial freedom. Why do I say so? I've seen before all walks of life. I have private clients who are leaders in their organizations. I have professionals who earn way above median income and maybe even pay income tax that's way above median income. And what I realized is high cost of living kind of disappears from their worry once the income level is past a certain threshold. On myself, I would kind of think so also. Then family responsibilities, I think also can be solved if, for example, lifestyle inflation is not out of whack, not out of control. When the income level is strong, family responsibilities such as providing kids the best is pretty achievable. So actually what I'm driving on is if these 3 are concerns, they are tied together. And the root cause could be to work on that income level. Sounds easy, but hard to do, I know. The key part is to build income in the long term, find the right skills, find the right organization, build the right network, etc., etc. All these help you build your income, and when you can get breakthroughs, you realize these top 3 factors that affect financial independence kind of can be solved. So I don't know if you agree, leave in the comment sections. Hopefully this has some useful points, especially if you're younger working it out, how to approach finances in the long term. Okay, so let's move on to further points in this study. Sandwich generation. Balancing dual responsibilities to take care of parents and children. And when they are in this generation, they demonstrate a higher financial ambition. That's true because you have more mouths to feed. And I also guess that when you have more responsibilities up and down, you kind of mature and think about others and make sure that you can provide for more. So naturally, higher financial ambitions. Nearly 2/3, 64.4%, aim to accumulate at least 1 million compared to 51.7%. That's true because you not only need to provide for yourself, you also need to provide for your loved ones. The group stands out for its proactive approach. 91.2% already have a financial independence plan. That's good. 60.9% are open to professional advice. And 62.8% view insurance as an investment tool. Okay, insurance as an investment tool maybe sounds like investment-linked plans, ILP. Generally, I'm not a big fan of it. I avoid it. I build portfolios for clients that are flexible, liquid, using better tools, and there's much better alignment of interests. So in general, insurance not the best vehicle for investments, but I think that 60.9% are open to professional advice is music to my ears. After I work in the financial services industry, and I believe I can help many families with it. Access to financial advice and decisive action are pivotal in improving financial well-being. Those open to professional guidance report far lower anxiety and higher confidence. only 25.4% experience frequent anxiety compared to 42.2% who do not seek advice. So if you have financial anxiety, look for a qualified advisor. Confidence more than doubles for individuals who engage a financial planner, rising to 65.8% versus 28.2%. Why? Why does anxiety drop and why does confidence increase? Actually, I have this question. Have you seen before people who, try to lose weight themselves? Any success or not? Some yes, some no. A bit unpredictable, correct? Some just New Year's resolution only. But have you seen people who have signed up with a top physical trainer? Why do we see success in these cases? Very often they post on Instagram, Facebook, they are dropping tummy, right? I've seen before. And I have a few points that I think relate to anyone that helps someone get better. The first is blind spots. Blind spots can only be solved by an expert, because if it's a blind spot, you can't see it for yourself. There are blind spots in terms of weight loss, there are blind spots in terms of financial planning and managing investments. The second is accountability. Accountability that a coach can solve. ChatGPT, it can only agree with you. You use ChatGPT enough, it only just resonates what you want to find out and what you think is correct. That cannot help. A coach can help. When I was much younger in my school days, I played table tennis competitively. I didn't realize the importance of a coach because another pair of eyes looking at you, seeing your blind spots, holding you accountable is extremely valuable. That's where you level up. Roger Federer has his own coach. Michael Phelps has his own coach. I pride my work in the same aspect, to be a coach or an advisor in this context, to ensure that retirement success is delivered to each and every one of my private clients who choose to work with me. What to do with this loan, what to do with these investments that are stuck, what are we building towards exactly, do we have enough? These are very thorny questions that I can handle, and because of the experience I've built, I can map it uniquely to each and every situation, including yours. And that's why also, financial confidence doesn't come from chance, it comes from choice. Seeking advice, taking action, and rethinking insurance, I like that. Choose to take the right steps, and each and every one of us listening can get to financial freedom at our own pace and against our own internal struggles. And to round things off, I have a quick story to share. Recently, I spoke to a private client and he took my suggestion on semi-retirement. I reassured him that he has enough assets, and in our last conversation, he was sharing me that right now, inflation is his biggest worry. Yes, we have enough assets, but what if the kopi-o gets more and more expensive, which it will, then will the assets still be enough for inflation? And if you think about it, there is some validity. CPF Life, where many times we discuss on the channel, it is a level amount, at least for the standard and basic plan. Endowment plans, typically they can provide a constant stream of income, but not one that grows very well with inflation. The only real assets that can solve inflation problem for your retirement are property rental if it's run well, and then dividends from equities or stocks. These are assets that traditionally are inflation proof, and the income it produces are also inflation proof because it goes up over time. My own mom, she tells me all the time, oh, she used to get this from ST Engineering, now she's getting way more. I'm happy for her. And ST Engineering is just one of the many Singapore blue chips, including banks that have paid increasing dividends. There are many solutions to get dividends that grow with time, definitely not in bond space. And once you have tasted it, you kind of relax a bit more on inflation and know how to build your financial freedom in the right way. Okay, so if you agree, smash the like button. And if you'd like to find out more about building dividend income right now, check out this previous tutorial I have. It can help you a bit further in your questions, and I'll see you there too. Take care as always. Goodbye.